The hotel concierge gave me more than a welcome. I didn't expect this. The rain was coming down in sheets when my taxi pulled up to the Hotel Belmont. Not the gentle, romantic rain you see in movies, the kind that soaks through your coat in seconds and turns your shoes into sponges. Perfect weather for the worst week of my life. I paid the driver, grabbed my suitcase, and made a run for the lobby entrance. By the time I pushed through the revolving door, I was drenched, water dripping from my hair and pooling at my feet on the marble floor. "Welcome to the Hotel Belmont." The voice was warm, professional, with just a hint of amusement. I looked up from my soggy state to see the concierge desk, and behind it a man who looked like he'd stepped out of a classic film, perfectly tailored navy suit, crisp white shirt, dark hair styled just so. His name tag read Sebastian. "Rough evening?" he asked, his lips quirking into a slight smile. "You could say that." I wheeled my suitcase toward him, leaving a small trail of water. "I have a reservation, Andrew Mitchell." Sebastian typed something into his computer, then paused, his expression shifting to something more concerned. "Mr. Mitchell, I'm afraid there's been an issue with your reservation." Of course there had, because why would anything go right today? "What kind of issue?" "It seems there was a booking error. The room you reserved was accidentally double booked and the other guest checked in this morning." He looked genuinely apologetic. "I'm so sorry for the inconvenience." I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of the day, no, the week pressing down on me. The business deal that fell through, the breakup with David that had been coming for months but still hurt like hell. The realization that at 34 I was starting over in almost every aspect of my life. And now, no hotel room in a strange city during a rainstorm. "Is there another hotel nearby?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "In theory, yes, but there's a medical conference in town this week. Every hotel within a 20-mile radius is completely booked." Sebastian studied me for a moment. "However, I do have a solution if you're willing to be flexible." "At this point, I'll take anything." "We have a suite available. It's significantly more expensive than your original booking, but I can offer it to you at the same rate as compensation for our error." He pulled up something on his screen. "It's actually our finest suite, corner unit, city view, separate living area." "That's generous, thank you." "It's the least we can do." He printed out a key card and slid it across the desk along with a small envelope. "You're in suite 1407. The elevators are just past the lounge. And Mr. Mitchell, the envelope contains vouchers for complimentary room service and spa access. Again, our apologies for the confusion." I took the key card and envelope, our fingers brushing briefly. Sebastian's hand was warm, steady, everything I didn't feel in that moment. "Thank you, Sebastian, really." "Of course, if you need anything at all during your stay, don't hesitate to call down. I'm here until midnight." He paused. "And might I suggest getting out of those wet clothes before you catch cold?" There was nothing inappropriate in the way he said it, but something about his tone, kind, almost caring, made my throat tight. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak, and headed for the elevators. The suite was beautiful. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, rain streaking down the glass in intricate patterns. A king-sized bed with crisp white linens dominated the bedroom, while the living area featured a plush couch, mahogany desk, and fully stocked minibar. I should have been grateful. Instead, I stood in the middle of all that luxury and felt crushingly, devastatingly alone. My phone buzzed, a text from David. "Can you please send me the Netflix password? I need to update my account." Not "how are you," not "did you make it to Boston okay," just a request for a streaming service password. 3 years together, and this is what we'd been reduced to: logistical loose ends. I typed back the password, then opened my contacts and hovered over his name. Delete, keep, I couldn't decide, so I just closed the phone and tossed it onto the couch. The room service menu caught my eye. Sebastian's vouchers were good for anything on it. I ordered more food than I could possibly eat, took a long hot shower, and changed into the hotel robe. By the time the food arrived, I'd opened a bottle of wine from the minibar and was staring out at the rain-soaked city. I ate alone at the desk, answering work emails I should have been ignoring. Anything to avoid thinking about the fact that I'd planned this trip as a romantic getaway with David before everything fell apart. The deal we were celebrating was supposed to launch my career into a new stratosphere. The relationship was supposed to be the stable foundation I built that career on. Instead, here I was, alone in an expensive hotel suite, eating fancy food that tasted like ashes, wondering where it all went wrong. Around 11, I found myself picking up the phone and dialing the concierge desk. I had no real reason to call, nothing I needed, no service to request. I just didn't want to be alone with my thoughts anymore. Concierge desk, this is Sebastian. Hi, it's Andrew Mitchell from Suite 1407. Mr. Mitchell, hello, is everything satisfactory with the suite? It's perfect, actually, that's kind of the problem. There was a pause, I'm not sure I follow. It's too nice for one person, too big, too quiet, it feels. I trailed off, realizing how pathetic I sounded. Never mind, sorry to bother you. You're not bothering me? His voice had lost some of its professional polish, becoming warmer. Are you all right, Mr. Mitchell? The genuine concern in his question broke something in me. Honestly, no, I'm really not. Would it help to talk about it? You don't have to, I'm sure you have other guests. It's a slow night, and talking is part of my job description, even if most guests only want restaurant recommendations. A pause, sometimes especially when they don't want restaurant recommendations. So I talked. I told him about David, about the 3 years that had slowly deteriorated into something neither of us wanted to be in. About the business deal that fell through because my partner got cold feet at the last minute. About feeling like I was 34 and starting from scratch with no relationship, no big career win, no clear path forward. Sebastian listened without interrupting, making small sounds of acknowledgement that told me he was really hearing me, not just waiting for me to finish. That's a lot to carry, he said when I finally ran out of words. No wonder you looked like you were drowning when you walked in tonight, and I don't just mean from the rain. I laughed despite myself, that obvious. I've been doing this job for 8 years, you learn to read people. And you, Mr. Mitchell, looked like someone who needed more than just a dry room and a comfortable bed. What did I need? A small kindness, a moment where someone saw you struggling and tried to make things a little easier. He paused. That's why I gave you the suite, not just because of the booking error, because you looked like you needed something good to happen today. My eyes stung, thank you, Sebastian. My pleasure, and Mr. Mitchell, if I may offer some unsolicited wisdom. Please. I see a lot of people come through these doors. Business travelers, tourists, people running from something or toward something, and I've learned that the ones who are starting over aren't starting from scratch. They're starting from experience. Everything you went through with David with the business deal, that's not wasted time, that's wisdom you'll carry forward. That's a very optimistic way of looking at it. Someone has to be optimistic, might as well be the guy at the desk who hands out keys. I could hear the smile in his voice. Get some rest, Mr. Mitchell, things often look different in the morning. But I couldn't sleep. At 11:30, I gave up and went down to the hotel bar, which was nearly empty except for a couple in the corner and the bartender wiping down glasses. Can't sleep. I turned to see Sebastian standing a few feet away, his suit jacket unbuttoned, tie loosened slightly. He looked less polished than he had earlier, more human. I thought you worked until midnight, I said. I do, but I'm allowed to take a break. He gestured to the empty stool beside me. Mind if I join you? Please. He ordered a scotch, I ordered another glass of wine, and we sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Up close, I could see details I'd missed before, a small scar above his left eyebrow, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the silver band on his right ring finger. Married? I asked, nodding at the ring. Widowed, actually, he said it matter-of-factly, but I caught the flicker of pain. 4 years now. I'm so sorry. Thank you, his name was Thomas, we had 6 years together before cancer took him. Sebastian took a sip of his scotch. So when you called down earlier talking about starting over, I understood more than you might think. How did you do it, start over after losing someone? Slowly, very slowly, some days I didn't think I would. He turned the glass in his hands. But I had this job and guests who needed help and small moments that reminded me life could still be good, like making someone's day better with an upgrade to a suite they didn't expect. I smiled. Is that what tonight was about, making your own day better by helping me? Maybe partly, but mostly it was about recognizing a fellow traveler, someone who's navigating rough waters and could use a lighthouse. And you're the lighthouse. Tonight I am, tomorrow you'll find another, that's how it works. He met my eyes. We help each other through the storms, Andrew, we don't have to do it alone. The way he said my name, not Mr. Mitchell, but Andrew, felt intimate. Like we'd crossed some invisible boundary from hotel employee and guest to simply two people sharing a moment of honesty in a hotel bar at midnight. Can I ask you something personal? I said. You can ask, I reserve the right not to answer. Do you ever think about dating again, or is it too soon? Sebastian considered the question. 4 years isn't too soon, but I haven't met anyone who made me want to try. Thomas set a high bar, he smiled sadly. And I think part of me is scared of losing someone again, scared that I already had my great love and this is just the epilogue. I don't think life works that way, like we only get one chance at happiness. No, what do you think? I thought about David, about the relief mixed with the grief when we finally ended things. About the feeling that I'd been holding my breath for 3 years trying to make something work that was fundamentally broken. I think we get multiple chances, different kinds of love, different chapters. Maybe they're not all equal, but they're all valid, they all teach us something. That's a wise perspective for someone who walked in here looking like a drowned rat. Sebastian's eyes sparkled with humor. I'm deeper than I appear. I can see that. He finished his scotch and checked his watch. My shift is ending in 5 minutes, I should get back to the desk to sign out. I felt an unexpected pang of disappointment, of course. He stood, straightened his tie and then paused. Andrew, I hope you don't think I'm overstepping, but would you like to have coffee tomorrow, not as concierge and guest, just as two people who connected over a rainy night and a terrible booking error? My heart jumped. I'd like that very much. There's a cafe 2 blocks from here. Rosewood Coffee does 9:30 work. It's perfect. He smiled, a real smile, not the professional one from earlier. Good, I'll see you then. I watched him walk back to the concierge desk, say something to the overnight clerk and then disappear through a door marked staff only. Then I finished my wine and headed back to suite 1407, feeling lighter than I had in months. Rosewood Coffee was exactly the kind of place I loved, mismatched furniture, local art on the walls, the smell of fresh-baked pastries mingling with espresso. Sebastian was already there when I arrived, wearing jeans and a sweater instead of his suit, looking younger and less formal. You look different, I said, sliding into the seat across from him. So do you, less soggy. I laughed, the bar was pretty low. We ordered coffee and pastries and talked. Really talked, not about breakups or loss, but about everything else. His love of old movies and terrible puns, my tendency to stress bake at 2 in the morning, his dream of writing a novel he never seemed to start, my collection of vintage maps that David had always thought was weird. They're not weird, Sebastian said firmly. They're romantic. Each one is a record of how people understood the world at that moment in time. Exactly, that's exactly what I always said. David didn't get it. David didn't get a lot of things about me, I think, and I didn't get a lot of things about him. We were just going through the motions for the last year, maybe longer. Sebastian reached across the table and squeezed my hand. It was a simple gesture, but it felt significant. I'm sorry, relationships ending is hard even when they need to end. Yeah, I squeezed back, but I'm starting to think maybe it's not just an ending, maybe it's also a beginning. I like that perspective. We talked for 3 hours. When we finally left the cafe, Sebastian walked me back toward the hotel. I have a confession, he said as we reached the entrance. I never do this, I never ask guests out for coffee, I never blur the professional boundaries. What made me different? Honestly, I saw something in you that reminded me of myself 4 years ago, someone going through something hard, trying to hold it together, needing someone to just see them. He stopped walking. And maybe part of me needed to see you too, to remember that connection is possible, that there might be chapters beyond the epilogue. I'm glad you asked me for coffee, Sebastian. I'm glad you said yes, he hesitated. When do you leave Boston? Sunday, 3 more days. Would you like to spend some of that time together? I have tomorrow off. I could show you the city, the real city, not just the tourist spots. I should have been cautious. Should have remembered that I was fresh out of a relationship, emotionally vulnerable, in no state to start something new. But standing there with Sebastian, feeling genuinely happy for the first time in months, caution seemed overrated. I'd love that. The next 3 days felt like existing in a bubble outside of regular time. Sebastian showed me hidden bookstores and hole-in-the-wall restaurants. We walked through the public garden, fed the ducks, and talked about everything and nothing. He told me about Thomas, their meeting, their life together, the grief that had nearly broken him. I told him about David, about my career struggles, about feeling like I'd lost the plot of my own life somewhere along the way. You haven't lost the plot, Sebastian said on Saturday evening as we sat by the Charles River watching the sunset. You're just in a transitional chapter, the part where the protagonist realizes the story they thought they were telling isn't the one they're actually living. And what story am I actually living? That's for you to figure out, but Andrew, he turned to look at me. Whatever it is, I think it's going to be good. You're too thoughtful, too kind, too genuine for it to be anything else. I kissed him then. It wasn't planned, wasn't calculated. It just felt like the natural next sentence in the conversation we'd been having since that rainy Tuesday night. He kissed me back, soft and sweet, and when we pulled apart he was smiling. I wasn't expecting that, he said. Neither was I, but I'm not sorry. Good, me neither. Sunday morning came too quickly. I packed my suitcase in Suite 1407, feeling the weight of returning to real life settling back onto my shoulders. My phone had been buzzing all weekend with work emails I'd been ignoring, messages from friends checking in, a final text from David about splitting up our shared Spotify playlists. There was a knock on the door. When I opened it, Sebastian stood there back in his concierge uniform. I'm working the morning shift, he explained. Wanted to say goodbye before you left. I'm glad you did. We stood there awkwardly for a moment and then Sebastian said, I'm not good at this. The part where something ends. I tend to either hold on too tight or let go too quickly, and I'm not sure which is appropriate here. What do you want it to be? I want to say let's keep in touch, let's see where this goes. I want to ask for your number and permission to call you when I visit my sister in New York next month. He looked at me carefully. But I also want to be realistic. You're just out of a relationship, you're figuring out your life. Maybe I'm just a moment, a lovely moment, but still just a moment. Or maybe you're the lighthouse, I said, echoing his words from that first night. The one that helps me navigate to the next chapter. And maybe you're mine. I pulled out my phone and handed it to him. Put your number in, call me when you're in New York, let's see what happens when real life gets involved. He typed his contact information in, then handed the phone back. Andrew. Yes. Thank you for this weekend, for reminding me that I'm not just existing in an epilogue, that there might be new stories waiting. Thank you for the sweet upgrade and everything that came with it. He laughed, best booking error I ever made. 3 months later, I stood in Sebastian's apartment in Boston's North End, boxes stacked around us as we unpacked my things. The long distance had lasted 6 weeks before we both admitted it was ridiculous, him flying to New York, me coming to Boston every other weekend. Are you sure about this? Sebastian asked, holding up a box labeled Kitchen Weird Gadgets David hated. About moving in together after 3 months? Absolutely insane. About moving in with you? Completely sure. I took the box from him. Besides, I got a job offer here that's better than anything in New York, and my weird gadgets deserve a home where they're appreciated. They do. He pulled me close. I can't believe this is my life now, that I walked into work on a random Tuesday and found you standing there soaking wet and falling apart, and now you're here. I can't believe a booking error changed my entire life. There was no booking error, Sebastian admitted. I pulled back. What? I lied. Your room was fine, but you looked so sad, so lost, and I had this instinct that you needed something more than a standard room, so I upgraded you and blamed it on a non-existent error. He looked sheepish. I've never done that before or since, but with you, I just knew. I should have been annoyed at the deception. Instead, I laughed. You manipulated me into falling in love with you through strategic hotel room management. Is it working? Sebastian, I moved to Boston for you. It already worked. I kissed him. But for the record, I fell in love with you at that coffee shop. The suite just gave me a comfortable place to sleep while I figured it out. Good to know, he grinned. So should we order pizza and unpack, or unpack tomorrow and celebrate tonight? Definitely celebrate. Unpacking can wait. Perfect, because I may have made us a reservation at that restaurant you love. The one with the truffle pasta you won't shut up about, yes. I grabbed my coat and his hand. Have I mentioned that I love you? Once or twice, but I never get tired of hearing it. As we left the apartment, heading out into the Boston evening, I thought about that rainy Tuesday night. About walking into the Hotel Belmont broken and lost and walking out 3 days later with hope. About how sometimes the worst moments, the breakups, the failures, the storms, lead us exactly where we need to go. The hotel concierge had given me more than a welcome that night. He'd given me a reason to believe in new chapters, new love, new possibilities, and I'd given him the same. We were both starting over, both writing new stories, but this time we were writing them together.